on 15th August. My friends, in this speech, you will notice that CJI Gavai has not talked about law, but rather he has talked about freedom struggle movements and role of marginalized people. He starts his speech with names like Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, Santal Hul rebellion that started in 1855. He reminds us that the Independence Day struggle does not start in cities. Rather, it started in remote one area, jungles where Santals were living, and then slowly it moved to rebellion of Sipahi, that is called Sipahi Mutiny in 1857, and then inclusion of Maharani Lakshmibai and others. He talks about Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, who were also part of freedom struggle movement, and it was linked to education. He then talks about Birsa Munda in 1890s, when cultural and land pigeon movement started, and that Birsa Munda thing also happened in Jharkhand. My friend, later he talks about how Rabindranath Tagore, as a Nobel laureate, was one of the most instrumental person in denouncing his, luxury and as well as whatever titles that was given to him. My friends, needless to mention, our freedom struggle movement cannot complete without name of Sri Mahatma Gandhi. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's role in Nilha Andolan, again where pigeons were involved. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's roles in freedom struggle when he combined masses together and brought in a big revolution, Bharat Choro Andolan, and then finally Britishers were able to pull it back from India. My friends, he also mentioned about our maker of the constitution, the head, Sri Dr. BR Ambedkar, who has been instrumental in BR Gavai's speech, which he gave on the Independence Day of India on 15th August. My friends, in this speech, you will notice that CJI Gavai has not talked about law, but rather he has talked about freedom struggle movements and role of marginalized people. He starts his speech with names like Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, Santal Hul rebellion that started in 1855. He reminds us that the Independence Day struggle does not start in cities. Rather, it started in remote one area, jungles where Santals were living, and then slowly it moved to rebellion of Sipahi, that is called Sipahi Mutiny in 1857, and then inclusion of Maharani Lakshmibai and others. He talks about Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, who were also part of freedom struggle movement, and it was linked to education. He then talks about Birsa Munda in 1890s, when cultural and land pigeon movement started, and that Birsa Munda thing also happened in Jharkhand. My friend, later he talks about how Rabindranath Tagore, as a Nobel laureate, was one of the most instrumental person in denouncing his, luxury and as well as whatever titles that was given to him. My friends, needless to mention, our freedom struggle movement cannot complete without name of Sri Mahatma Gandhi. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's role in Nilha Andolan, again where pigeons were involved. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's roles in freedom struggle when he combined masses together and brought in a big revolution, Bharat Choro Andolan, and then finally Britishers were able to pull it back from India. My friends, he also mentioned about our maker of the constitution, the head, Sri Dr. BR Ambedkar, who has been instrumental in preparation of such a wonderful constitution for India that empowers every citizen of India in such a way that nobody can put away your rights. My friends, he also mentioned about Sri Jawaharlal Nehru's role in and his speech, Ties with Destiny, and that midnight freedom that was brought on 15th of August 1947. My friends, Mahatma Gandhi was such a name that keeps coming for all speeches of any political or non-political, because Mahatma Gandhi was the name and is still the name that is respected all over India for the contribution that Mahatma Gandhi gave, not only in freedom of struggle, but also upliftment of downtrodden people. Untouchability was something which was against the humanity, and it was Mahatma Gandhi who has propagated that such kind of nonsense should be avoided from our society, and finally it was written in constitution that and it was abolished. My friend, he also mentioned about the role of a well-known educationist, Sri Maulana Maulana Azad, as well as later a visionary scientist, our missile man, Sri Abdul Kalam. And at present, my friends, the most important thing that comes into discussion is coming back of Santal, region lady, Mrs. Murmu, who is from that particular region, from Orissa, and currently heading the country as a president of India. My friends, listen to his speech and you will be able to analyze and appreciate more, because he talks more in detail about how the role of people from backtrodden society has been there in our freedom struggle and their continued support in development of India, and how they have moved from such a humble beginning to a large presence in our administrative setup as President of India. My friends, thank you for your time. If you get time, do subscribe to our channel and hope to see you again. Till then, goodbye and adios. दोस्तों, इस वीडियो को अंत तक देखें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें. I have given the link at the bottom in the description box also, and watch this video till the end. My friends, thank you again for your time. Friends, a very good evening to you. Today I am presenting to you a little analysis of Sri BR Gavai's speech, which he gave on the Independence Day of India on 15th August. My friends, in this speech you will notice that CJI Gavai has not talked about law, but rather he has talked about freedom struggle movements and role of marginalized people. He starts his speech with names like Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, Santal Hul rebellion that started in 1855. He reminds us that the Independence Day struggle does not start in cities. Rather, it started in remote one area, jungles, where Santals were living, and then slowly it moved to rebellion of Sipahi, that is called Sipahi Mutiny in 1857, and then inclusion of Maharani Lakshmibai and others. He talks about Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, who were also part of freedom struggle movement, and it was linked to education. He then talks about Birsa Munda in 1890s, when cultural and land pigeon movement started, and that Birsa Munda thing also happened in Jharkhand. My friend, later he talks about how Rabindranath Tagore, as a Nobel laureate, was one of the most instrumental person in denouncing his luxury and as well as whatever titles that was given to him. My friends, needless to mention, our freedom struggle movement cannot complete without name of Sri Mahatma Gandhi. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's role in Nilha Andolan, again where pigeons were involved. He talks of Mahatma Gandhi's roles in freedom struggle when he combined masses together and brought in a big revolution Andolan, and then finally Britishers were able to pull it back from India. My friends, he also mentioned about our maker of the constitution, the head, Sri Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, who has been instrumental in preparation of such a wonderful constitution for India that empowers every citizen of India in such a way that nobody can put away your rights. My friends, he also mentioned about Sri Jawaharlal Nehru's role in and his speech, Ties with Destiny, and that midnight freedom that was brought on 15th of August 1947. My friends, Mahatma Gandhi was such a name that keeps coming for all speeches of any political or non-political, because Mahatma Gandhi was the name and is still the name that is respected all over India for the contribution that Mahatma Gandhi gave, not only in freedom of struggle, but also upliftment of downtrodden people. Untouchability was something which was against the humanity, and it was Mahatma Gandhi who has propagated that such kind of nonsense should be avoided from our society, and finally it was written in constitution and it was abolished. My friend, he also mentioned about the role of a well-known educationist, Sri Maulana Maulana Azad, as well as later a visionary scientist, our missile man, Sri Abdul Kalam. And at present, my friends, the most important thing that comes into discussion is coming back of Santal, region lady, Mrs. Murmu, who is from that particular region, from Orissa, and currently heading the country as a president of India. My friends, listen to his speech and you will be able to analyze and appreciate more, because he talks more in detail about how the role of people from backtrodden society has been there in our freedom struggle and their continued support in development of India, and how they have moved from such a humble beginning to a large presence in our administrative setup as President of India. My friends, thank you for your time. If you get time, do subscribe to our channel and hope to see you again. Till then, goodbye and adios. दोस्तों, इस वीडियो को अंत तक देखें और हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलें. I have given the link at the bottom in the description box also, and watch this video till the end. My friends, thank you again for your time.
At the outset, I wish all of you a very happy Independence Day. Friends, every year on the 15th of August, we gather as a nation to celebrate our independence. The tricolour flutters proudly in the monsoon breeze. Today, we are also blessed with the rain god. The national anthem echoes from schools to stadiums, and for a moment, we are bound together by a shared memory and a shared promise. But Independence Day is not only a celebration, it is also an act of remembrance. A remembrance of those whose courage led to the path of freedom before 1947 and whose vision must guide us even today. So we stand here in the light of that freedom. Let us take a journey together, not through the dates and dry facts, but through moments that continue to shape our destiny as a nation. Our journey begins in the summer of 1985 in the lush valleys of present-day Jharkhand, where tens of thousands of Santals rose in what they called Hul, a rebellion, against the East India Company and its local collaborators. This was an uprising to protect their lands, their forests, their culture and their dignity from the tightening grip of exploitation. Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, leaders of the Hul, called upon the people to fight for the soil that fed them and the rivers that sustained them. With only bows and arrows in hand, but an unshakable sense of justice in their hearts, the Santals rose against the might of an empire. Their suppression was brutal, thousands were massacred, but their defiance was not in vain. It became one of the first great chapters in India's resistance to British rule. The Santal Hul teaches us that the struggle for freedom did not begin in the cities, it began in the villages, the hills and the forests, wherever people refused to be reduced to the subjects of alien power. Subsequently, we all know about the great revolt in 1857, where kings, queens, soldiers, peasants, and ordinary citizens rose together in defiance of colonial rule. From the valor of Rani Lakshmibai in Jhansi to the leadership of Bahadur Shah Jafar in Delhi, the uprising was a rare moment when India's diverse regions and communities found a common cause. Though brutally suppressed, it shook the foundations of the colonial empire. But even as political resistance grew, reformers like Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, this year we are celebrating the 200th birth celebrations of Mahatma Gandhi Phule, saw a deeper truth. Political freedom is incomplete without a social freedom. In the 19th century, when caste hierarchies strangled the promise of equality, the Phule couple advanced the cause of education for girls from marginalized communities in Pune in western Maharashtra. Imagine the courage it took to defy entrenched norms at that time. They called out the hypocrisy of the society that spoke of independence while denying education and dignity to women and Dalits and backward classes. From the western Maharashtra, we move ahead to the forests of Chota Nagpur, where another young leader emerged, Birsa Munda. In the 1890s, he led what came to be known as Ulgulan, the Great Tumult. It was a cry for cultural freedom as well. Birsa called upon his people to reclaim their land and their dignity. The British labelled him a rebel, but today his people call him Dharti Aba, the father of the earth. At only 25, he died in prison under mysterious circumstances. But his legacy could not be changed. Today, his statue stands in our parliament complex. From the revolutionary bravery, we turn to the poet's pen of Rabindranath Tagore. In his work titled Gitanjali, Tagore gave us one of the most enduring prayers for our nation. And I quote, "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country away," unquote. In 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre shook the conscience of the nation. In protest, Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood, writing to the Viceroy, and I quote, "The time has come when badges of honor make our shame glaring in their incongruity." From the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917, we championed the rights of indigo farmers, to the Salt March of 1930. We challenged the British monopoly on salt. Mahatma Gandhi transformed India's struggle from an elite political cause into a mass movement. He united farmers, workers, women and the urban middle class under a single banner of peaceful resistance. In the 1930s, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar challenged the authority and legitimacy of the British government to formulate a new constitution for India. In the Round Table Conference, he stated, and I quote, "The time when you were to choose and India was to accept is gone. Never to return, let the consent of the people and not the accident of the logic be the touchstones of your new constitution," unquote. And now let us come to the midnight hour of 15th August 1947. As the world slept, Jawaharlal Nehru spoke to the Constituent Assembly, and I quote, "At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom." His speech was a call for responsibility. And when the young nation was bearing the deep wounds of partition and at the same time laying down its foundations, Mahatma Gandhi gave us and our leaders a message that still resonates. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In those few words, he gave us the moral compass to guide our politics, our governance, and our lives. Mahatma Gandhi also gave a talisman which is close to my heart, and I quote, "Whenever you are in doubt or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man or woman whom you may have seen and ask yourself, if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him or her, will he or she gain anything by it? Will it restore him or her a control over his or her own life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj for the hungry and the spiritually starving millions?" Then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away. But as we celebrate our Independence Day today, let us not forget the words of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who in his last address on the 25th of November 1949 to the Constituent Assembly stated, and I quote, "We must make our political democracy a social democracy as well. Political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of it social democracy." What does a social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principles of life. By independence, we have lost the excuse of blaming the British for anything going wrong. If hereafter things go wrong, we'll have nobody to blame except ourselves. The warning given by Dr. Ambedkar is relevant even today as when it was in 1949. And finally, I remember the words of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, who emphasized building the character of the next generation. And I quote him, "Educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial, and moral leadership among students and become their role models, unquote. Thus, from the hills of today's Jharkhand, where the Santals lit the first flames of rebellion, to the forests of Chotanagar, where Birsa Munda dreamed of dignity for his people, from the humble school in Pune, where Mahatma Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule opened the doors of learning to the excluded, to the renunciation of a knighthood by Rabindranath Tagore in protest against injustice, from the careful crafting of our constitution by Dr. Adv Ambedkar and his colleagues to the model campus of Mahatma Gandhi. Our freedom was not forged in one place nor by one people, but by the courage of many speaking in different tongues, yet united by one dream of a prosperous and equal India. It is the destiny of India that the Santal community, which was amongst the first to rise against the British in 1855, now has its daughter, President Droupadi Murmu, holding the highest constitutional office in the land. Her journey from a small village in Odisha to Rashtrapati Bhavan is testament to how far we have travelled. And yet, we must remember that the work of building a just, equal and inclusive India is far from complete. And so on this Independence Day, let us not only salute the flag, but also the spirit it represents, of liberty that refuses to be silenced, of equality that admits no hierarchy, of fraternity that knows no walls. Let us pledge that the India we pass on will be one where no child is denied education because of his or her caste or of poverty. No woman walks in fear by day or by night, and no citizen is too small to be heard, and no truth is too inconvenient to be spoken. Furthermore, it is our solemn duty as judges and lawyers not merely to interpret and apply the law, but to actively uphold and embody the fundamental values enshrined in the Constitution. We are entrusted with the responsibility to promote, protect, imbibe and defend the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity, the very principles that form the bedrock of our democratic society. Our history teaches us that the struggle for freedom was not only a political movement but also a moral and legal endeavor in which countless lawyers played a crucial role. Rahul has already referred to many of them. They argued fearlessly, challenged injustice and defended the rights of vulnerable, often at the great personal risk and sacrifices. This legacy must guide the lawyers of today. We are called upon to carry forward this tradition, to internalize the spirit of service, courage and commitment to justice that shaped our freedom struggle. As legal professionals, you must recognize that no cause is too small to merit your attention. What may appear to be a minor dispute or a trivial grievance to one may in fact be a matter of life, dignity or survival for another. Every case you handle, every argument you advance contributes to the moral and social fabric of our nation. For judges, this responsibility carries on even deeper dimension. Beyond the letters of law, we must strive to give a broader, more purposeful interpretation to the values of the Constitution. We must interpret the law in ways that expand freedom, protect the rights of the marginalized and strengthen the rule of law. For only then will Tagore's prayer be answered, only then will Mahatma Gandhi's Swaraj be real, and only then will Dr. Ambedkar's idea of democracy be complete. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Friends, don't forget to share your views in the comment box and subscribe to Kanoonplus channel.
At the outset, I wish all of you a very happy Independence Day. Friends, every year on the 15th of August, we gather as a nation to celebrate our independence. The tricolour flutters proudly in the monsoon breeze. Today, we are also blessed with the rain god. The national anthem echoes from schools to stadiums, and for a moment, we are bound together by a shared memory and a shared promise. But Independence Day is not only a celebration, it is also an act of remembrance. A remembrance of those whose courage led to the path of freedom before 1947 and whose vision must guide us even today. So we stand here in the light of that freedom. Let us take a journey together, not through the dates and dry facts, but through moments that continue to shape our destiny as a nation. Our journey begins in the summer of 1985 in the lush valleys of present-day Jharkhand, where tens of thousands of Santals rose in what they called Hul, a rebellion, against the East India Company and its local collaborators. This was an uprising to protect their lands, their forests, their culture and their dignity from the tightening grip of exploitation. Sidhu and Kanhu Murmu, leaders of the Hul, called upon the people to fight for the soil that fed them and the rivers that sustained them. With only bows and arrows in hand, but an unshakable sense of justice in their hearts, the Santals rose against the might of an empire. Their suppression was brutal, thousands were massacred, but their defiance was not in vain. It became one of the first great chapters in India's resistance to British rule. The Santal Hul teaches us that the struggle for freedom did not begin in the cities, it began in the villages, the hills and the forests, wherever people refused to be reduced to the subjects of alien power. Subsequently, we all know about the great revolt in 1857, where kings, queens, soldiers, peasants, and ordinary citizens rose together in defiance of colonial rule. From the valor of Rani Lakshmibai in Jhansi to the leadership of Bahadur Shah Jafar in Delhi, the uprising was a rare moment when India's diverse regions and communities found a common cause. Though brutally suppressed, it shook the foundations of the colonial empire. But even as political resistance grew, reformers like Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule, this year we are celebrating the 200th birth celebrations of Mahatma Gandhi Phule, saw a deeper truth. Political freedom is incomplete without a social freedom. In the 19th century, when caste hierarchies strangled the promise of equality, the Phule couple advanced the cause of education for girls from marginalized communities in Pune in western Maharashtra. Imagine the courage it took to defy entrenched norms at that time. They called out the hypocrisy of the society that spoke of independence while denying education and dignity to women and Dalits and backward classes. From the western Maharashtra, we move ahead to the forests of Chota Nagpur, where another young leader emerged, Birsa Munda. In the 1890s, he led what came to be known as Ulgulan, the Great Tumult. It was a cry for cultural freedom as well. Birsa called upon his people to reclaim their land and their dignity. The British labelled him a rebel, but today his people call him Dharti Aba, the father of the earth. At only 25, he died in prison under mysterious circumstances. But his legacy could not be changed. Today, his statue stands in our parliament complex. From the revolutionary bravery, we turn to the poet's pen of Rabindranath Tagore. In his work titled Gitanjali, Tagore gave us one of the most enduring prayers for our nation. And I quote, "Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, into the heaven of freedom, my father, let my country away," unquote. In 1919, the Jallianwala Bagh massacre shook the conscience of the nation. In protest, Rabindranath Tagore renounced his knighthood, writing to the Viceroy, and I quote, "The time has come when badges of honor make our shame glaring in their incongruity." From the Champaran Satyagraha in 1917, we championed the rights of indigo farmers, to the Salt March of 1930. We challenged the British monopoly on salt. Mahatma Gandhi transformed India's struggle from an elite political cause into a mass movement. He united farmers, workers, women and the urban middle class under a single banner of peaceful resistance. In the 1930s, Dr. BR Ambedkar challenged the authority and legitimacy of the British government to formulate a new constitution for India. In the Round Table Conference, he stated, and I quote, "The time when we were to choose and India was to accept is gone. Never to return, let the consent of the people and not the accident of the logic be the touchstones of your new constitution," unquote. And now let us come to the midnight hour of 15th August 1947. As the world slept, Jawaharlal Nehru spoke to the Constituent Assembly, and I quote, "At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom." His speech was a call for responsibility. And when the young nation was bearing the deep wounds of partition and at the same time laying down its foundations, Mahatma Gandhi gave us and our leaders a message that still resonates. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. In those few words, he gave us the moral compass to guide our politics, our governance, and our lives. Mahatma Gandhi also gave a talisman which is close to my heart, and I quote, "Whenever you are in doubt or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man or woman whom you may have seen and ask yourself, if the step you contemplate is going to be of any use to him or her, will he or she gain anything by it? Will it restore him or her a control over his or her own life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj for the hungry and the spiritually starving millions?" Then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away. But as we celebrate our Independence Day today, let us not forget the words of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, who in his last address on the 25th of November 1949 to the Constituent Assembly stated, and I quote, "We must make our political democracy a social democracy as well. Political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of it social democracy." What does a social democracy mean? It means a way of life which recognizes liberty, equality, and fraternity as the principles of life. By independence, we have lost the excuse of blaming the British for anything going wrong. If hereafter things go wrong, we'll have nobody to blame except ourselves. The warning given by Dr. Ambedkar is relevant even today as when it was in 1949. And finally, I remember the words of Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, who emphasized building the character of the next generation. And I quote him, "Educationists should build the capacities of the spirit of inquiry, creativity, entrepreneurial, and moral leadership among students and become their role models, unquote. Thus, from the hills of today's Jharkhand, where the Santals lead the first flames of rebellion, to the forests of Chotanagar, where Birsa Munda dreamed of dignity for his people, from the humble school in Pune, where Mahatma Jyotiba Phule and Savitribai Phule opened the doors of learning to the excluded, to the renunciation of a knighthood by Rabindranath Tagore in protest against injustice, from the careful crafting of our constitution by Dr. Adv Ambedkar and his colleagues to the model campus of Mahatma Gandhi. Our freedom was not forged in one place nor by one people, but by the courage of many speaking in different tongues, yet united by one dream of a prosperous and equal India. It is the destiny of India that the Santal community, which was amongst the first to rise against the British in 1855, now has its daughter, President Droupadi Murmu, holding the highest constitutional office in the land. Her journey from a small village in Odisha to Rashtrapati Bhavan is testament to how far we have travelled. And yet, we must remember that the work of building a just, equal and inclusive India is far from complete. And so on this Independence Day, let us not only salute the flag, but also the spirit it represents, of liberty that refuses to be silenced, of equality that admits no hierarchy, of fraternity that knows no walls. Let us pledge that the India we pass on will be one where no child is denied education because of his or her caste or her poverty. No woman walks in fear by day or by night, and no citizen is too small to be heard, and no truth is too inconvenient to be spoken. Furthermore, it is our solemn duty as judges and lawyers not merely to interpret and apply the law, but to actively uphold and embody the fundamental values enshrined in the Constitution. We are entrusted with the responsibility to promote, protect, imbibe and defend the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity, the very principles that form the bedrock of our democratic society. Our history teaches us that the struggle for freedom was not only a political movement but also a moral and legal endeavor in which countless lawyers played a crucial role. Rahul has already referred to many of them. They argued fearlessly, challenged injustice and defended the rights of vulnerable, often at the great personal risk and sacrifices. This legacy must guide the lawyers of today. You are called upon to carry forward this tradition, to internalize the spirit of service, courage and commitment to justice that shaped our freedom struggle. As legal professionals, you must recognize that no cause is too small to merit your attention. What may appear to be a minor dispute or a trivial grievance to one may in fact be a matter of life, dignity or survival for another. Every case you handle, every argument you advance contributes to the moral and social fabric of our nation. For judges, this responsibility carries on even deeper dimension. Beyond the letters of law, we must strive to give a broader, more purposeful interpretation to the values of the Constitution. We must interpret the law in ways that expand freedom, protect the rights of the marginalized and strengthen the rule of law. For only then will Tagore's prayer be answered, only then will Mahatma Gandhi's Swaraj be real, and only then will Dr. Ambedkar's idea of democracy be complete. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Friends, don't forget to share your views in the comment box and subscribe to Kanoonplus channel.
At the outset, I wish all of you a very happy Independence Day. Friends, every year on the 15th of August, we gather as a nation to celebrate our independence. The tricolour flutters proudly in the monsoon breeze. Today, we are also blessed with the rain god. The national anthem echoes from schools to